Hi everyone, I'm Udit. This is the third video in a short video series on how to crack portfolio review interviews when applying for product designer roles. Today's topic is the presentation checklist. And this is a list of things to make sure you've absolutely nailed before you consider your portfolio presentation ready. For context, the previous video was an approach to structuring this presentation, and the next video will be on tips for the verbal component of this presentation. This advice applies to pretty much most product designer roles. In different companies, these are known by different names and also have slightly differing scopes. So for instance, user interaction designer at Google, UX designers at Amazon, all of you should hopefully find this useful. As a quick introduction, I'm from Prepfully. We offer online anonymous mock interviews through which you can get interview practice. You can practice for free with other candidates, or you can practice with coaches who've actually worked at the target companies you might be interviewing for. In the context of this video, we've got product designers from all those companies I mentioned above, but also Facebook and Lyft and Tesla and God knows how many others who've been helping candidates with mocks and advice and who've also helped us put together content. This video being an example of it. Good, enough with the intros and the context. Let's get to the checklist. There are 7 items on this checklist. The first 3 are core design elements. The next 2 are relatively minor things, but which still really matter. And the last 2 are big picture things which I personally believe matter the most. So let's talk about the first 3 items. These are core elements of good product design, and they can be simplified broadly into the what, the why, and the how. What you achieved is the design impact. So what sort of decisions you influenced, your impact on the product, on the team, and eventually even the impact on the business if you can map things back to that level. Why you did things is the design context. So why you worked on this, whom you worked with, what the timeline looked like, basically essential items which are going to be crucial background for your panel to understand the why. And how you did stuff is the actual design process. So this needs to have a logical flow and narrative. The checklist item here isn't the content itself, which of course you'll have, but the flow and the narrative. Is there a logical progression to what you did? What's the thinking behind why you did these things, and is this coming through clearly in your how slides? So you need to make sure that for pretty much any case study that you talk about in your portfolio presentation, you've covered these 3 core elements of good product design: the what, the why, and the how. The next 2 things are relatively small and can be considered nitty-gritty, but I still think they're super important because getting them wrong can leave a really bad impression. The first of these is copy and proofreading. So make sure there are no spelling mistakes, make sure the grammar is spot on. Ideally give someone else to give it a read, someone who hasn't read it before, because otherwise you can develop blindness to things that are very clear to people who are reading it for the first time. There's zero harm in using Grammarly, for instance, as well, because small errors can really stick and distract. So just try to get rid of all of them. The second small thing then is navigation and readability. And to some extent, this is not such a small thing after all. My recommendation would be to check, have you linked pages correctly? Is there a contents slide or a TLDR at the start of your slide deck? That is, of course, assuming you're creating a slide deck, which is the most common format for this. But think of it this way, you're going to often need to jump between different parts of the presentation during Q&A. So it's very important that things be linked together properly. My advice would be to, once you're done with this, look back and think, did I treat my presentation the same way as I would any other UX project that I was working on? If this was a product I was crafting, what would the experience look like when my client or my user is the panel I'm presenting it to? Finally, the last 2, which I think personally are absolutely the most important things to nail. The first is your content efficient? And by that I mean, how much are you able to cover and how efficiently are you able to cover it? Why is this important? Because to be able to communicate impact in the smallest number of words possible is pretty much an unsaid proxy for maturity and in some ways seniority, since it comes with experience and you just can't fake that. In some places, for instance, you might want to let your graphics do the talking. In others, your choice of presenting analytical context might prove relevant. It's not just about images though here. Even having a TLDR or a summary slide at the start which lets a reader or someone in your presentation panel get a full picture in one glance could be a tactic, or an appendix which allows you to funnel less interesting but still relevant content further down, yet the presence of which reassures first time readers that there's a lot more meat they can dig into if relevant or if they're interested. The second thing here is, are you communicating your story of growth through your presentation? And by that I mean how you grew as a designer. This could be the collaboration aspect. So for instance, an increased breadth and seniority of stakeholders that you were responsible for managing. It could also be the impact aspect, a wider scope, a deeper impact, a larger amount of complexity in the challenge you were trying to solve. It could also be the craft aspect. So the complexity of the challenge, the evolution from a product to a suite of products, showing how you drove consistency and standardization and the like. It could be the people aspect. So did you mentor a designer? Did you set standards that other people followed? There's a lot of ways to communicate the story of growth, but it's essential that your presentation try to get the story across, because ultimately it's going to do the speaking for how you're going to succeed in that new role. Right then, that's all for this video. Please do keep in mind there are often nuances specific to companies that you might be interviewing at. Your recruiters are always going to specify these before your portfolio review. So for instance, some companies ask you to prepare just one case study, others ask you to prepare an assortment, and then your panel potentially digs into just one of them during the presentation. Make sure that you're fulfilling the requirements that have been specified, because that is the real checkbox. There's going to be a 0 or 1 checkbox for you when the final presentation occurs. If you think specific feedback on your portfolio presentations could be helpful, both either the content but also the verbal part of it, we've got coaches across Apple, Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, and loads of other companies who'd be more than happy to give you this sort of feedback. And if you just want to practice presenting your portfolio presentations to other product designers who are also gearing up for interviews, you can always book a free session on Prepfully as well. I've included both links in the description below. In the next video, I'm going to talk through the verbal part of this presentation and how to prepare for that. So please stay tuned. If you have follow-up questions about anything I shared, please ask in the comments. If you found this video useful, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Good luck, and I look forward to seeing you in the next part of this video series.
Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, please subscribe. Our website is prepfully.com. We've got lots of interview questions there. You can also schedule a mock interview with one of our experts. You can find the link in the description below. All the best from us at Prepfully, and we hope you totally rock your interview.